Good afternoon, students. I'm Onyambu, taking you through a lesson of English in oral skills under the title Conversation. Sometimes we call it a conversation or a dialogue out there. And broadly, we are going to look at introduction part of it. We'll talk about definition of some terms that we're going to use each time you encounter a conversation or a dialogue in your question. And then we have a conversation, part one, and then we have a structured dialogue, the next part, and lastly, we'll have a task out there. Generally, a conversation in each and every day life, look at each and every day life, we always have a dialogue with your friend, teacher, with your parents. Wherever you meet out there, you have to pass information, and in the time of passing that information, you are actually having a dialogue or a conversation. A dialogue or a conversation helps us to actually solicit a lot of information that we seek to get. It is therefore very important to engage in a conversation with friends, with family members, with guests or teachers. And through a conversation, you express yourself clearly. You help one understand what you need or the task you want to be accomplished. However, there are several setbacks in a conversation, and we need to overcome these setbacks in order to have a successful conversation. Let's define some terms here for this lesson. One is a conversation. What do we call a conversation? A conversation is the use of a speech for formal or informal exchange of views or ideas or information. We can define a dialogue as also a conversation between the two or more people with an intention of passing information on a particular aspect. I want to say here that there is a very thin line between a conversation and a dialogue out there. And let's start with a conversation out there. And I've grouped this lesson into two parts. We have the structured kind of a dialogue, and then there is a conversation that you are presented out there that you can tackle. I have in mind you should be able to think that in oral skills question 3, there is a time they will give you an excerpt where we have a conversation of two or more people, and then they'll ask some questions pertaining to how the conversation has been carried on. So a conversation here, we have already said it's a formal exchange with an aim of passing information or soliciting a certain information. And each time we engage in a conversation, there is need to take precaution on the topic covered and give adequate response when it is required. A good conversation is a key to language development. The exchange of thoughts and ideas and listening to each other help us to learn. We also learn by hearing others' thoughts while observing their facial expressions out there. I've come up with a conversation out there. There's a conversation which involves Mary and Zena. I'm going to look through it, and then you see. And then we are going to look at what are some of the questions they can ask you if you have a question like this. Mary says out there, voice shaking, "Have just received terrible news. My mother is dead." Zena, with a faraway look in her eyes. Talking about mothers, when they get old, they become a burden. Mine is always ailing. Then Mary says, his voice still shaking. "Oh my God, my brother just rang me to say that she just dropped dead after she had come from a latrine at around 2 a.m. this morning. No one was expecting." And then Senna interjects out there. As I said, my mother is ailing. She's in her 70s, and we have to keep buying medicine for her diabetes and high blood pressure. Mary continues now, emotional, and crying, "Oh mother, my dear mother, I have to look for money to travel to Mombasa and attend a burial arrangement. I have no idea." Then Zena interjects absent-mindedly, well, money is always a problem. Also need some money for my mother's medication." Mary wiping her tears and suddenly walking away. "Thanks for being so understanding." Thanks. Zena looking confused, say, "What? Have I offended you?" That is the end of that conversation. There are things that I want us to look through in this conversation. Number one, get the message in a conversation. Make sure that you understand the message. What is the message exchange within the two characters? Number two, you realize that each time we engage in a conversation out there, make sure that the topic is understood with both parties. You realize in this conversation that Mary and Zena are talking in something that I can term as a cross purpose. When Mary is expressing the terrible news about her mother's death, Zena is totally absent-minded and is talking about things that are not related to the message Mary is telling her. And then another point that you need to note is that down here you realize that as Mary is talking, is actually interjected or stopped by Zena. As Zena interrupts and gives this information. In a good conversation, interjecting or stopping over, interjecting somebody along the way as a person is speaking is not what is actually done, what is required out there. That is one of the setbacks of a conversation or a dialogue out there. And then we always said again, we mentioned that you always have to stick through the topic. Make sure that you are interested, there's a sign of interest, and above all, you are following and your response is appropriate. Let's look at the questions that are there, and a sample of the questions out there. And number one is that identify the shortcoming in Zena's listening skills. Identify the shortcoming in Zena's listening skills out there. Number one is that in answering, before I even look at the answers that are there, number one, you have a look at the way you give your answers. Please give it in a complete statement out there. And then number two, avoid using the negator notes or never out there in giving your answers out there. Please give them in a positive manner, although they may have a negative aspect or connotation in them. Reaction number one is that Zena is insensitive to the predicament of Mary. How? From the conversation, we realize that when Mary is expressing the demise of her mother, Zena is talking about something different, totally different from what Mary is expressing. Number two, Zena is a poor listener. We'll actually qualify this even from the conversation that when Mary is expressing one idea, Zena brings in her own idea. For example, when Mary says, I have, my mother is, I need some money. Zena also comes in with another issue that I also need money. Zena is non-emphatic. In other words, Zena does not empathize with what Mary is going through. In other words, she does not even understand the pain, the anguish, the situation that Mary is in. Another point is that Zena interrupts Mary unnecessarily. And I will illustrate that by the idea where Mary is continuing to talk and he says, I have no idea. With these three dots, it tells us that Mary was continuing talking when Zena interjected and started talking about that. When a listener or in a conversation, when you interject like that, it is inappropriate. And that is why we are saying that Zena interrupts Mary unnecessarily. Zena is also absent-minded. Why do we say he's absent-minded? And you can illustrate that from the lesson is that Zena does what? He does not understand the topic Mary is passing through. At the last point there, among other answers that you can give, is that Zena is self-centered. Instead of empathizing, trying to be in the shoes of Mary, she doesn't even care. He goes on to tell us what he feels and how he looks at the general life of the parents out there. Another question that can come out there is question number two. What character traits of Zena shows that she is not a good listener? Zena is self-centered. Zena is cold-hearted or callous. Zena is unappreciative. Remember the last part, he says, have I offended you without actually knowing? How can Zena improve her listening skills? Zena can be patient and understanding. In other words, take time to listen to what Mary is saying. And finally give the right response. And number two, Zena needs to be very polite. Throughout his talking, even the way he handles her own topic of the mother, he handles it with a lot of carelessness and insensitivity. Zena needs to be sympathetic to in her listening skills. Mary is expressing a very emotional idea here, but Zena does not look so sympathetic at all, does not look moved at all. And lastly, Zena should offer a hand of help or caring through comforting Mary, which she actually doesn't do anything out of. I want to thank you so much. That marks the end of our first part of our study of a conversation. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.